Ladies and gentlemen, we are live from the
Ah,
beautiful, soul-crushing land of Northern Virginia. I'm joined, as
oh.
always, by Tyler, and
Hello, everybody.
our third mic is in France, so Curran
Yeah,
cannot make it. He will be back, though.
not committed. The first new hire we get to the show, and he takes his PTO on the very first thing we ask him to do. We gotta love that.
We'll be
Um,
docking his pay.
yeah,
Don't you worry.
well, I think with our pay structure, he's gonna actually end up having to pay us money for lost time. We'll figure it out on the back end.
Yeah.
Kev, I've had an aggressive day. I texted you before this. My laundry machine broke. My fridge broke. My car's check engine light came on, and I had to schedule a plumbing inspection for next week. But you know what, Kev? None of that matters. You know why?
'Cause we got some fights.
We got some fights. We're going to be talking about chucking knucks. We're going to be talking about some back fists, some submissions. I got my weighted vest on here because I'm training with these boys. Mama didn't raise no. I'm ready to go. Let's talk about some fights for UFC 328.
All right, so few pieces of business get out of the way. This
Now,
episode is technically sponsored by mine and Tyler's jobs. UFC 328 takes place this Saturday night at the Prudential Center in Newark, New Jersey, right
awesome
next to the
city.
Newark train station that my wife and I parked at shortly after getting officially married by the Catholic Diocese of Paterson, New Jersey. The main event features Hamzat Chimaev defending his middleweight belt against Sean Strickland. The
Yep.
entire card can be streamed in the U.S. for free with a Paramount Plus subscription. Let's go.
Kev, there's some of these images that I'm going to have to ask you about after the show because I don't know what's going on here. But let's
All
go
right.
talk about these fights. I am ready and I am prepared.
All right. So, from the early prelims to the main event, UFC 328 will feature 13 fights, and we are covering the 6 matchups shown on screen.
Correct.
Yes, I'm going to kick it over to Tyler for his overall thoughts on the card.
Snooze fest across the board for the most part. I think, look, I was researching some of these fights. We got Unk Bulls. We got, Sean Strickland trying to stir up a controversy against Chimaev. And it's really kind of just falling flat, in my personal opinion. I know that we just watched the weigh-in and Joe Rogan was patting him on the back and everything for, stirring up all the drama. But yeah, I mean, me personally, I'm excited about one of these fights, and I'll get to it when we talk about it. But across the board, nothing out here is screaming to me like this is going to be a great matchup.
Dang, that's interesting. I will say there's a lot of heavy favorites on the card, but
Yes,
the
that's
main
also a
event
point.
the main event has the things I'm looking for to trick me into getting extremely excited, only to be let down. I think
There's
that might be.
drama behind the fight. The guys have been rivals for what is it, like 6 years now or something like that?
Yeah, well, they used to train together, and we'll get into this more, but,
Yeah, all
yeah,
right,
the last 2 years or so, they've really been at each other's throats, so,
right.
without
A little bit more one-sided the more I research the beef, but let's get into the fights. Starting with the undercard one, right? Okay,
yes,
Kev, I didn't do any research for this one. I'm prepared for anything else. I'm just going to read what Curran gave us. Okay.
alright.
All right. Actually, you go first because I got to find that text.
Okay, so we skip ahead all the way to the featured prelim in the middleweight division.
Yep.
Ateba the Storm Gutierrez is a blue-chip prospect who has won his first 4 UFC bouts. His harrowing physique, Cameroonian origin, and jaw-dropping knockouts draw hallucinations to the former UFC heavyweight champion, Francis Ngannou. UFC brass just adore these types of intimidating prospects. His highlight reel knockouts are enough to captivate the fans, and then one thing, if he loses, that just builds the stock of his opponents. Sometimes the UFC loves just to have a scary looking dude because win or lose, it's going to be good for the promotion. And that's what we have here. What did Curran have to say about this?
Curran had a very in-depth analysis. And I'm going to read it now. Gutierrez beats Diaz. I think his power will be too much. Okay, so looking at this fight, Kev, the one thing I got to say, how do you pronounce his last name? Say it for me.
I believe it's Gutierrez.
Gutierrez. Okay, yes, I'm going to go with that. Gutierrez, for his age, looking at that record, man, he is killing it in the game right now. Good for him. You told me actually about how this is like heavily one-sided fight, so I blind picked Gutierrez. But looking at the stats number here, you know I love a knockout artist against a crisp boxer like that. There's got to be some power behind them when I'm looking at that reach. So, yeah, I'm comfortable with my pick down there. Did I say my pick already?
Yeah, well, I believe Gutierrez by a knockout is that's
Yes.
what I put you down
And
for.
I'm confident with that one after looking at this. Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely. Okay. But my question is going to be with Gutierrez because he's so young. And we're in what division are we in again?
middleweight, 185.
Middleweight. Okay. So he's got some competition definitely to still climb. I know with some of these fights, there's implications for the Freedom 250, like who gets on the lineup and who doesn't. Is this one of those in any way, shape, or
No,
form?
I
Okay.
think the last UFC that matchup that got added between Josh Hokett and Derek Lewis, I believe that's going to be the last one added
That'll
to
be a
the
good one.
card. Yeah, and just I to get this out of the way, I am picking
Right.
Gutierrez, but I am heavily considering the decision because I mean,
Okay.
one, if you see down there at the bottom of the screen, it's a plus 1,000. And his last fight ended in decision. This is a prospect the UFC has been slow tracking in a sense. His last fight against Pulaev, I think that was going to be, if he got another knockout, then he wouldn't be facing Ozzy Diaz next. He'd be facing potentially a ranked opponent. But because he couldn't get the finish, and he still did look good in that fight, I think the UFC is being careful with this. They don't want to feed him to the wolves just yet. Diaz is kind of no slouch. He's only has 2 losses in the last 8 years, and they were to Zhang Min Yang and Joe Pfeiffer, and Joe
Oh.
Pfeiffer's currently ranked number 6 in the division. So
No,
this money line,
honestly not that bad, right?
yeah, that's
Like,
the one thing. If you'll see, he hasn't fought since March 2025. These two were actually supposed to fight back in, I think, November or October of last year, but Ozzy Diaz pulled out, and it was a vague reason. He just said medical condition and then didn't give
uh,
that. So some people were saying he was scared. I mean, clearly not, because they're going to fight tomorrow. But yeah, the line was actually minus 1350 for Gutierrez on Tuesday when I first made these slides. I was just updating the live odds, so I'll have some notes on just as we go through, like what the money line and the
right.
betting odds have changed in the last 4 days, because there's been some big movement. This one, for whatever reason, the bettors are maybe taking Ozzy Diaz on a whim just because the odds are so good.
I mean, it's the value, you know what I mean? I see it, and there's gonna be a lot of people trying to get cute with it on this card just based on how these odds are shaking out, but after I think I went 1 and, like, 8 on 327. I did not do good. So this time I'm not going to try to get cute and overthink anything. I'm still a casual at this point. So I want to make sure that I'm a crowd follower right now. But I think it could be looking at this and hearing you talk. I think this could actually be a little bit more entertaining than what I initially thought. So
Yeah, and I mean, even if it ends up being a one-sided KO, that's still
it's
entertaining.
still
So
fun to watch.
yeah.
Still fun to watch. All
All
right.
right.
What do we got?
Moving right along real quick. This is kind
This
of
is a
mean
dunk
to a
ball.
legend like Jeremy Stevens, but I'm curious if you've came across this clip in your MMA fandom yet. This is from the Conor McGregor era. This is an iconic clip.
Sky TKOs people. When I knock people out, when I knock people out, they don't move. Leans into Mike. Oh,
Hold up.
okay. Yeah. So Conor McGregor's gotten cheeky on this guy.
There you go.
Did Conor McGregor KO him?
No, they never fought, but it was a very it's one of his iconic moments on the mic where the reporter asked Connor who he thought would give him the most trouble in the featherweight division, and Jeremy Stevens interrupted and said, "Right here, I'm the hardest hitting 145 pounder." Pretty good, but then Connor shut him down, made the whole crowd kind of laugh at him. You got a
I
technical
didn't listen
foul?
to anything you just said because I've been wanting to do the timeout. So I saw today McGregor is. It sounds like Dana White is saying he's definitely gonna be at Freedom 250 for a fight. I saw rumblings that it might be a rematch against Max Holloway. Do you know if that's the case?
Yeah, so not at Freedom 250. I think they're targeting that at Conor McGregor's potential next headliner for the next pay-per-view after that. And
Okay.
yeah, it could be Max, it could be Charles Oliveira for the BMF belt. Connor's one of those. He's kind of transcended the sport, so the UFC can kind of put him wherever they want, and he's going to draw numbers.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot to look forward to. Anyway,
Let's get into it. Let's talk.
let's move on here. So yeah, this fight to kick off the main card, I think it's going to be a good one. This is kind of late breaking news. This morning, Jeremy Stevens missed weight by
Yep.
five
I saw
pounds.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and yeah, or I guess by 4 pounds. So he was
Yeah, it was 4
160.
pounds. I mean, and you tell me, rule check here, Kev. Do they penalize you differently based on how much you miss weight, or is it just you miss weight, you're done?
No, it's
Or not done, but it's a financial penalty,
yeah,
correct?
when you miss weight, you owe your opponent, I believe, 30% of your purse. And
3?
yeah, 30% of your purse. And then it's also, I feel so 4 pounds is about as far as the athletic commission will let you miss weight by. If you miss weight by like 8, 9 pounds, they're going to call off the fight. And
Even
to
though
King
he's
Green,
still in the range for being lightweight?
yeah, I guess the
Okay.
next one's welterweight at 170. So
Ah,
yeah, it's
okay.
but to note King Green, he had the opportunity to, he could have said, "No, I'm not doing this fight," and
Mm.
he he did not. He could have gone home with his money, and he chose to still fight. That's literally the first note I have on him. Formerly Bobby King Green. Now it's just King Green. Extremely fun fighter to watch. He considers
Yeah.
himself an entertainer first, and his performances do show. His first UFC fight, 2013. He's faced essentially every 155er on the planet: Dustin Poirier,
Yep.
Tony Ferguson, Islam Makhachev, Paddy Pimblett, Edson Barboza, Clay Guida, Rafael Fiziev, Jalen Turtle, Drew Dober, James Krause. The list goes on and on. Uh, he's an exciting fighter. He's got a weird style, I would say, kind of a hard to read boxer. Sort of walks around like kind of like a
Yeah.
kangaroo almost.
Hands down, forward pressure, constant
Yeah.
activity kind of fighter. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and to give Jeremy Stevens his flowers, his first UFC bout was back in
Uh,
2007. It was an armbar loss against Dean Thomas, actually. He was a staple
right.
145er, and he has a probably even more impressive resume. He's fought RDA, Anthony Pettis, Cowboy Cerrone, Cub Swanson, Charles Oliveira, Max Holloway, Frankie Edgar, Hanato Moicano, Jose Aldo Jr., and Zabit Magomed Sharipov.
Mm.
Yair
Uh,
Rodriguez and Calvin Kattar, sorry. He
Okay.
also is returning from a stint in BKFC. Is bare knuckle fighting on your radar?
It is a little bit only because I see that, Jeremy Stevens is the one guy on here who has an outside UFC activity to note.
Mhm.
That's the one thing. Plug Claude. I got Anthropic's Claude, and they have been helping me learn. That's plug. Everybody should get Claude. It's a very good, useful tool for your lives. But the one thing, Kev, you kind of touched on it. This is an Unk Bowl a little bit. This is definitely an Unk Bowl, 37 and 39, correct? That's their ages.
39 and 39, I
Ah,
believe.
okay. Well, then my AI was wrong. Whoops. But that being said, I mean, I gotta wonder, just looking at the notes here, if Jeremy Stevens' head is even in this. You know what I mean? The guy's been on a 6-bout losing streak that goes back all the way to 2019. He missed weight. You know what I mean? And I gotta give credit to him, like you said, for picking those hard opponents. But at a certain point, it's like at 39. I mean, how much longer are you gonna keep doing this? He's clearly just doing this to get a bag. So that's why, again, I'm not overthinking it. I want to take King Green, but I do think this is going to be a little bit more of a boring matchup. And it's a shame because lightweight matches like really do like when they can
Hmm.
bring the speed, but I don't really think it's going to end out that way. Jeremy Stevens is known for being a clinch oriented guy. So he's going, and side note, the more I do research, the more clinch oriented guys are the fighters I least respect because it's literally like you're just trying to stop the fight and catch your breath all the time. So, yeah, King Green, give it to me.
Yep, I'm in the same boat. I can't remember if I put him down for decision or KO, but I
Neither
think I
do
went
I.
with decision just because Jeremy Stevens, he's a tough MO.
Yep.
Uh, but yeah, I also see Jeremy getting tired by the third round, and so yeah, that's yeah. I don't think it's the most exciting one to kick off
Nah,
the main card, but this next fight I'm very excited for.
me too, a little bit. I gotta stay here. This is another vibes pick, a little bit for me. I got vibes and actual reasons to pick Mr. Brady. Shocker alert! But for the vibe reasons, He was not willing to participate in any of the trash talk that Buckley was throwing his way. He was very much a lot more cool-headed at the press conference. He was spent the most time talking about his baby girl, which is adorable. And guess where the man is from and who his favorite football team is?
Yeah, go birds.
Go Birds! Hell yeah. But that being said, I also did look up the guy. I mean, he's got one of the highest submission rates in UFC right now, you know what I mean? So I am going to take him on that, but I got some more stuff I want to talk about. Let me pull that up while Kevin gives a point.
Okay, and so I wrote an intro for this, so I'm just going to say it, even though it's in the middle of things. On a Saturday night filled with tantalizing stylistic matchups, a gritty grappler from the heart of Philadelphia looks to take the neck off of the ever explosive and always entertaining striker out of St. Louis, Missouri. Sean Brady and Joaquin Buckley are both looking to right the ship following an upset loss in their last bout. They want to let the naysayers know that a 33 and 32 years of age, respectively, the primes of their career beckons. I
Okay.
think, and for the fans, I
Okay.
absolutely despise the city of Philadelphia, the people, the sports
We
franchises.
don't want you anyway. That's fine.
They, and so this is tough because I am, to bury the lead, I am also going with Sean Brady. Um, in his last fight, he got caught by Michael Morales. Before he could implement his game plan, before he could try to get engaged in some grappling. Simple as that.
Yep.
The game plan is to stop him from taking you down. Way easier said than done. And in Joaquin Buckley's last fight against Usman, he got ragdolled around the cage. That is,
And
um,
Kev, I'm going to stop you for 1 sec. And you know who's been training Buckley for this fight?
I got it right here. I said it could be
That
an
you
X
do,
factor. Yeah.
yes. The dude who beat last year has been training him specifically to go up against Brady. And one thing I found that caught my eye, Brady actually said it. I don't know why you're having a guy who has one submission in his record coaching you up to fight a guy who has the highest rate in the UFC right now.
Yeah. I think I didn't know he had the highest submission rate in
Yeah,
the
okay, I was
UFC.
kind of talking out there. I don't know if it's high. It is higher than average, though.
Okay. I mean, that
Yeah.
makes sense. And that's ultimately why I'm gonna go with him. And MMA math is always valuable, but Sean Brady was able to take down Leon Edwards 5 out of 7 times in their fight, and he ended up locking up a pretty easy guillotine to get the finish.
Yeah,
Usman fought Edwards, and he only went 9 of 27 takedowns in their 2 bouts. You might see where I'm going with this, but
I do.
Usman was able to get Buckley down in the first 4 rounds of their fight, easy peasy. So with Brady, you have somebody who is a prolific finisher. I think, given what I just said, he's going to be able to get Joaquin Buckley down. And while Joaquin's never been finished, it could be the first submission loss. That's what I'm going for. The only thing that I will note, in addition to training with Kamaru Usman, Sean Brady's 2 losses came on pay-per-views. This is only his 4th pay-per-view he's fighting on. So there might be a lights get too bright type thing. It might just be a coincidence, but he's 17-0 when he's not fighting on pay-per-views. He's only 1-2 when he's placed on a pay-per-view card.
Okay. Yeah, sorry, I'm looking through notes, but I mean, Sean Brady, I think, is the better fighter across the board. I had one other point, but I don't have it right in front of me. So let's keep this momentum going into the next fight.
All right.
Oh,
Personality rich heavyweight. So look, I'm
yes.
trying to explain MMA memes to people is essentially just a way to get your friends and family to talk about you behind your back. So I'm
Yep.
not going to explain why Alexander Volkov's humor and fan appeal is criminally underappreciated, or why the eye patch donned by Waldo Cortez Acosta in this picture is such a great dig at the heavyweight champ Tom Aspinall. You're going to have to take my word for it.
Yes.
But these guys, I'm very excited for this fight.
Me
Um,
too, man. And you mentioned like the Tom Aspinall takedown of Volkov. I think that Volkov has now, really kind of tried to up his repertoire in training. He's been focusing on his takedown ability a lot, which is interesting for a dude that's 6'7". So I wonder how that's going to play out because we got right here a heavy-handed boxer and a guy who's been trying takedown moves a little bit more. So a little bit of an uneven style matchup. But, and one thing I have in my notes here, Kev, because you've been watching UFC a lot longer than I have. when I see bigger dudes, and I mean bigger as in height fighters, I don't expect a lot of ground and pound to come out of that. Do you see that as a disadvantage for a guy of this size?
No, I would say having that long reach and having the frame to where you can go in, land some ground and pound, and then get back out. I see it as an advantage. I think this fight is going to be Volkov just kind of picking apart Cortez Acosta at distance. His
Yeah.
fight against Sergey Pavlovich back in July 2024, that's exactly what he did for 3 rounds. He just stayed at range and bloodied up Sergey Pavlovich for the victory. That's where I see this going. I don't want to give your pick away because I saw it, but I would like you to talk more about that because I think there is a chance.
Yeah, it seemed like this was actually the one that me and Curran weren't on the same boat as actually that I looked at. Look, for me, it kind of just comes down to the stats are on Volkov's side. And when I watched him, I think he has like a better pacing, so to speak, in his, overall stance and just like his ability to dance around his opponents despite his size. And that also comes from just looking at the different styles that he implements throughout his very tenured career as a
Mhm.
big boy. I think he has like a lot more in his arsenal that he's going to be able to tap into than Acosta, who I found out today, one started out as a pitcher in baseball, so he's a multi-sport athlete, and he wanted to be a pastor when he was a kid, believe it or not. So maybe the big man upstairs will help him out a little bit and negate what my pick is going to be. But just going off of, trusting my eyes, I think, is what I'm going to go with Alexander Volkov. I think, yeah, no, I don't want to go on anymore.
Yeah, it's a heavyweight fight, so there's anything can happen. It just takes one punch to put someone down. But yeah, I see it going the same way. Also, Volkov should be on a 7 fight win streak. His split decision loss to Cyril Gane was kind of
Right.
insane. 19 out of 20 media members and 87% of the fans gave the decision to Volkov. So it was a bit of a robbery. Cyril Gane won, ended up facing Tom Aspinall for the heavyweight strap, poked him in the eye.
Mm.
That's why we got it anyway. That's a little
No,
butterfly
wait,
effect
but
to that.
Kev, before you go on, because Volkov is currently ranked number 2 heavyweight, is if he wins this, is the next logical step a shot at the title for him?
Yes, and I realize I
Okay.
put them both as the number 2 heavyweight. That's, I think Walter Cortez Acosta is maybe 6. But yeah,
Yeah.
so at the UFC
No, you're right.
250.
He is 6. I have
Okay.
that right here
So
in my notes. You're right.
at
Yeah.
Freedom 250, Poatan and Cyril Gane are fighting for the interim title at
Okay.
heavyweight. The
Oh, yeah,
winner of
that's right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the winner
Yeah.
of that's gonna face Tom Aspinall hopefully later this year to unify the belt, and then, yeah, I do think the winner of this fight, unless Josh Hokett can sneak in, I think the winner of this fight's gonna have the next shot
Because
at the strap.
doesn't Hokett now have the interim after the last fight
No,
against Fury?
he'll be fighting Derek Lewis on the White House card, but not
Okay.
for any belt. Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah, fair enough.
I
All
still got
right.
to learn how all that works.
Yeah,
All
it's
right.
it's goofy.
Now, here we go. This is going to be my favorite fight. I have established that I love watching the little guys who are called the bap, 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 bappity bap style. And, it's wholesome. These two guys are friends from that part of the world, coming over here to America. I think this is going to be a good one.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's an
I'm talking
interesting.
about Joshua Van and Tatsuro Taira, for those who
Yes.
don't understand.
Yeah, very
By the
good.
way, Kev, did you know that I've been learning some Japanese on the side?
Oh, konnichiwa.
Shumatsu wa nani o shimasu ka?
What does that mean?
What are you doing this weekend?
Oh.
Seriously, what are you doing this
Oh,
weekend? I want to
let's
watch the
see.
fight.
I'm going golfing with Ryan tomorrow, and
All
then yeah, then I'm just watching the fight.
right, we'll watch
You
the
wanna go?
fights.
Alright.
Cool.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, I have friends. All
Shoot.
right, let's talk about the fight.
Alright. I don't have all that many notes. I'll give my
I
vibe
got
pick,
some.
but
Yeah.
if you wanna start things off?
Not, dude, look, Joshua Van is red hot right now. I think one of the things that I loved looking up about his stats was just seeing his significant strikes per minute. I think he's got like 8.6 or something like that. It's the highest in the UFC. That one I do know. And like I said, I love it when you got those fighters who are the babbity 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 kind of system. Tatsuro Taira is on a red hot streak at the moment. But again, this is a situation where we got fighters who are very different in their approach. We got Tetsuro Taira, who's a grappler, against Joshua Van, who's a heavy focused boxer. You know what I mean? So when I look at this and looking at Tatsuro Taira's last fight where he got the neck clamped down against I can't remember the guy. Oh, Park.
Mark.
Yeah. His strategy was purely get him down on the ground as quick as possible and just spider monkey him and get the neck clamp, overextend his back. I don't know that he's going to be able to do that with a guy like Joshua Van, who's quick on his feet, who's got really good pacing and all that. Spoiler alert, I am going to go with Joshua Van. I can't remember what I texted you. I think I said knockout, correct? Hold on.
I want to
But
say
regardless of that, I will also say I was listening to Khalil Roundtree talk about Tetsuro Taira. I think a lot of the UFC world at large is viewing this as a, real test for him and if he can like stick around in the big league, so to speak. Nothing against him. Hey, if he wins, awesome. But that being said, I do believe, and I'm kind of biased just because I like Joshua Van's style a little bit more. So I'm going to go with him by either knockout or submission. And I'll pull that up and let you know.
yeah, no, it's funny because so many of the pundits, I guess besides Khalil Roundtree, have been saying they're picking Tyra for this. I can't recall one person I've heard predict Joshua Van to win, which is crazy
Except
because
me.
spoiler alert, me, you, and Current all picked him to win. I love his slick boxing style. He's the first Burmese UFC champion, and Tatsuro Taira is trying to become the first Japanese UFC champion. So
Yes.
that's an interesting little storyline there. But the the reason why everyone's been picking Tyra is because they think he'll be able to get Joshua Van on the ground, and then
Ugh.
then he'll just show his level in that realm. The reason why I have a little bit of confidence that Joshua Van's going to be able to stop that is because he spent an entire camp preparing for Pantoja in it when he won the belt. Um, we did not get to see much out of that fight because Pantoja 3 minutes in dislocated his arm. So the fight ended. Joshua Van got the belt. Nobody really, we didn't get to see his wrestling tested. I think just the prep work that he had for that camp, on top of the prep work he's had for this camp, I think that is going to be enough. And yeah, I really enjoy watching his style. His fight against Brandon Royval last summer was insane.
Yeah.
And yeah,
And Kev, at this point in the video, I will juxtapose this graphic because I have their stats organized in a spreadsheet, and it's just so funny to see like how even on paper you can see these guys' fighting styles because of how dominant Joshua Van is in things like strike accuracy and significant strikes per minute. And then Tetsuro Taira is dominant on like takedowns per round and sub attempts per 15 minutes. It's like on paper in your face. So it's cool to see. And I think Tetsuro Taira is a more wholesome dude than
yeah.
like,
Well, I mean, whenever he wins, he grabs the mic and goes, "Thank you, I am happy."
yeah,
It's very,
it's like
yeah, endearing.
this is a very polar opposite vibe to the fight we're about to talk about.
Oh yeah, so that's a good lead in.
Segue.
Oof. Did you watch the press conference at all last night?
I did, and then I just watched the weigh-in where Strickland just would not stop shooting his mouth off.
Yeah, well, so the press conference last night, I would say Hamzat Chimaev kind of lost the crowd a little bit.
Yeah,
He
he's not a
just
big
being weird talking
entertainer.
about he kept calling Sean Strickland poor, and like whenever Strickland would talk about his y- not to get us demonetized, but Hamzat has some weird connections with a Chechnyan dictator,
Yes.
Kadyrov. And anytime he say like, hey, that guy Chimaev would just go, I got 10 G wagons like you poor. But it was a little weird. But and then at the end of the
I don't
press
know if I even
conference
get
and the
that
face off,
argument.
Hamza Chimaev did a pretty cheap shot. He went for an oblique kick against Sean Strickland, who famously has a compromised left leg from his motorcycle accident maybe like 6, 7 years ago
Boo-hoo.
at this point. Yeah, and Chimaev went for the oblique stomp, trying to or I guess he did hyperextend his knee. That was pretty dirty. But all that
Yeah,
aside, let's get to what everyone's waiting for. To quote
let's
the
talk about
consummate
it.
professional John Anik, every now and again, an athlete comes along who captivates the attention of the entire sport. Enter Hamzat Chimaev. Chimaev's life before the UFC was as rugged as it gets. He was born in Chechnya amid civil unrest, immigrated to Sweden, where he lived in a closet at the gym he trained in. He burst onto the scene in the summer of 2020 at a UFC Fight Island, where he racked up 3 victories over the course of 67 days, only absorbing 2 combined strikes. He got 3 fights, only punched twice in those 3 fights combined. Since then, however, his antics have put him at odds with UFC fans, missing
Yep,
weight by 8 pounds,
I'm
jeopardizing
one
your
of those guys.
integrity, his inactivity, and a boringly dominant performance against fan favorite DDP last year. Now for the challenger, it'll be pretty quick. It'll be pretty quick, then I'll kick it over to you.
All right, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Former middleweight champion Sean Strickland carries his own baggage in the form of childhood trauma as a forgotten, abused youth. I don't want to get this video demonetized, as I've said. So I'll just say that Sean Strickland's upbringing was a for profit prison's wet dream. His brash persona following that motorcycle accident has consistently kept the UFC brass on edge.
All
Sean
right.
Strickland and Hamzat don't like each other. Go for it, Tyler.
Yeah, and okay, look, I get it, but everybody's got to pass. A couple like Strickland can't get out of his own way in terms of the media sense, and I know the guys like Rogan will say that that's a good thing for the sport. I kind of disagree. I don't think you should have a guy who's saying that Ronda Rousey is a loser for expressing mental health concerns after a loss. Like that sits not well with me. Chimaev's beard is weird. I don't know who that dude is who is always with him. That is like his clone. It's also a weird thing. Look, everybody knows when Strickland fights, he's the guy who will just keep advancing at you, right? He'll just keep advancing, arms down, you know what I mean? Trying to like get you like with a high boxing, with hold on 1 second, with some high
The
pressure
Philly
strike
show.
Philly shell, you know what I mean? The Ikari roll, shoulder roll defense. Wow, that is a tongue twister. And then just a lot of sharp jabs and relentless forward movement. This is where Chimaev's high pressure grappling and control for long periods. I think this is going to be an inverse of the Van versus Tetsuro fight, because I do think that Chimaev, with his conditioning and his pacing, is going to be able to get Strickland on the ground. Okay. He also does have a slight age differential there. So that's where the conditioning is going to come into play. Because as everybody who I've seen is talking about this, I do believe and I might not have texted you this, but the more I think about it, I do think it's going to be a long fight where these two seasoned fighters are going to actually be like trying to wait for the right moment, you know, kind of deal. So that's why, in actuality, I forget what I texted you, but I'm going to go with Chimaev over the distance. Partially a vibe pick, but also partially a gambler not trying to overthink it pick.
Okay, I like that. I'm gonna go a different route, and
Hit me.
this was a game time decision. I've been going back and forth. I even talked to my wife and tried to talk her through this. She didn't really offer much
She
feedback.
probably was like daydreaming so hard when you were talking to her
She
about
was on
this.
a call for work, so she wasn't really listening. But look, this morning at weigh-ins, Hamzat Chimaev was the very last person to weigh in. He made it about 20 minutes before the cutoff. So this fight almost got canceled, but he did weigh in at 185. He looked awful. And what I've since learned is that he was apparently planning to move up to light heavyweight. But once Strickland beat Anthony Hernandez back in February, they booked this one. So the tough weight cut was to be expected. But, when you essentially are on death's door Friday morning, it's hard to go out and fight 25 full minutes. the next day,
That worries
36
me.
hours later. It's one where I didn't think Sean had much of a chance. I kind of assumed it was going. Originally had an early submission from Hamzat. Yeah, I think he was going to be able to get Sean down, and then Sean was going to make a mistake trying to get back to his feet. But man, I don't know, the tough weight cut. He's had a weird buildup to this fight where I almost suspect he might have gotten himself hurt or he might have an undisclosed injury. He trains his cardio with Coach Cal, who has notoriously overtrained fighters and led them to getting injuries, either
Mm,
in the
I
buildup
did
to the
not know
fight or
that.
the fight itself. I got a sneaky upset pick. I am going with Sean Strickland
Okay.
to get it done by late round, not TKO probably.
Kevin, gentlemen's bet time. Strickland wins. I wear a Commanders jersey on the next stream. Kamav wins. You wear a Eagles jersey on the next stream.
There's gotta be better weighted odds for that. There it's gotta be
All
'cause
right.
this is huge.
All right. Before the fight starts, what I will do is I will find good, like, why am I blanking? When you make a bet and there's one side and then there's another side, what do you call those? The terms. I will come up
terms.
with better terms for this bet before the fight starts tomorrow, but we need to have something. I wish it was me just gambling, but my DraftKings account has basically become a donation to a hedge fund millionaire at this point. So I want to come up with some other kind of, you know, I want to come up with some stakes for this.
Okay, alright, I like that. Get into
All
it.
right.
Let's see, let's, recap the picks real quick
Yes, sir.
here. It's what we were all 3 of us, first 3 fights,
Yeah. Oh,
exactly
God.
aligned. That
The
would
graphic.
that did lead me that was
Oh, the
another
graphic.
factor in me picking Sean Strickland was just we gotta get some I'm not super. I feel like if there was one underdog pick besides Joshua Van, I am getting more and more confident in. It's in Joaquin Buckley beating Sean Brady. But yeah, let's see. I got Sean Strickland by
The
by
graphic,
knockout.
Kel, the graphic is cursed. The graphic is cursed.
What do
We're
you
all
mean?
picking the same.
Yeah, yeah. I feel good about the first two at least. I think we are right. They're heavy favorites for a reason. This
Yeah.
is one of those cards where it just might be not many upsets, if any.
Logic is on our side. Gambling is not.
I think I think at least one of us will go over 500 on their bets. I think at least one of us is going to go 4-2. That is,
Kev, somehow Curran's gonna get all of them right, and we're gonna get all of them wrong, even though we all picked the same.
well, let's see, folks. I guess that's it. This is a rather quick episode.
It was.
Got
No,
some
we wanted
busy
to get
weeks.
to we got to keep doing this short form. Kev, I know we've been plugging it nonstop, but Freedom 250, the more that it approaches, the more it seems like we're definitely going to be there doing on the street interviews. We're going to be getting some funny content for you guys out of that. So yeah, make sure you guys are hitting that like and subscribe button. We're cooking with this channel a little bit with the edits that we're being able to make. And, it's because you guys are giving us good, you guys are giving us good attention. Our views are constantly going up, so we appreciate that. Anybody who takes time out of their busy days to watch us two idiots ramble on about sports that we kind of know about.
Yeah, I might have a big surprise for the fans for UFC 250. TBD, but if it works out, it'll be huge for the channel, for the movement. More to come.
Okay. Well, I
And
want to, when we're
I'll
done
tell you
recording,
after
I
we
want to hear
stop
what that is.
recording.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right, folks. Remember, like and subscribe. Shout out to Kevin. Shout out to Curran, who is in France, which is weird. And we will see you guys next time.
Shout out to Tyler. Bye, guys.